in the world is happening with King County real estate? Whoa, this is unique. We are in a unique time, folks. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone, but let's look to see what I'm talking about. All right, we're looking at supply and demand. My favorite kind of charts, because it's not just a good idea. It's the law of supply and demand. That's right, people. I will make that joke every month. Okay, let's see. The green are the number of homes that went under contract, so pending. The number of homes that were sold every month. Okay, homes put under contract, the green represents that. The blue is the number of new listings that came on every month. This is the last 4 years. So let's look, and so you just get a little historical perspective on it. So you can see where we are relative to the recent past. We can go further out, but it's not that much more luminous. So a couple of things. You can see the pandemic limited the number of listings, increased the number of buyers. You certainly could attribute that to interest rates and people not being able to move. Both those factors helped each of their sides of the equation to increase and decrease respectively. But prior to the pandemic, you saw, some normal, quote unquote, normal seasonality. And what I mean by that is, notice how in a normal year, or even really any of the years in the past, that come the end of the year, November here, but really this started in October of 2019, in November of 2020, November of 22. So this month, November, the new listings dip behind the pendings. In other words, the number of people putting their homes in the market decreases faster than buyers go away. Okay, everything slows down at the end of the year. You can see that these dips all represent December and January. That's a seasonal trend. But notice how it's really consistent that the buyers are in greater numbers than the sellers. You can see the new listings go behind. You can't see them anymore. The number of buyers, the number of homes under contract. That towards the end of the year, people stop listing their homes, but people don't stop buying at the same rate. They continue to buy. It slows down, but not as much as the listings slow down. Okay, I think I've said that 6 different ways, but it all says the same thing. Except what? Not this year. This year is a very different picture. Look how many more new listings there are than buyers. Buyers have slowed down at a greater rate this year so far than in any of the past years. And like I said, we can go out further and you don't see this kind of gap. You don't see that much blue. You don't see that much gap. Okay. This is not terribly unlike 2018. It's lower, but the proportion is about the same. So it's unusual. It's not unexplainable. I mean, the difference, the 7% interest rate has hit people pretty hard, and sellers haven't caught up to the new reality yet in terms of where they need to price their house to compensate for the buyer has that much less buying power than they had in January of 2022 of this year. So the prices should drop a little bit to compensate for that at some point. Now, what's going to happen with the overall economy? I don't know. Now, one problem you have as a consumer is you're about to be inundated with the end of the year predictions, where everyone's going to have something to say to get your click on the internet, or to get you to turn the channel on the TV, or to pick up the paper. They're all going to have something to say about the future. The important thing to know is nobody knows the future. Nobody. The market could completely tank or not. You literally have no way of knowing. And you don't know when it's going to turn. You can look at predictable seasonality and say, okay, over time, this has a track record going this way. What's that way? Well, the normal seasonality would indicate that people are going to stop listing at the end of the year, and buyers are going to continue to buy at a slower rate, but not as slow as the listings. In other words, if you're thinking about selling your home, the end of the year is still predictably a better time to sell than at the beginning of the year. Why? Because predictably, in a non-pandemic year, look how many more listings there are than buyers. And this goes up into the spring. All these high blue peaks of new listings are all people waiting till the spring to sell. Generally not the best time to sell. Best time to sell is when there is less competition and more customers. That happens here in December and January. That happens here in November, December, and January. It even happened during the pandemic in November, December, and January. November, December, and January. Now this year is going to be slower. We'll see what happens in November, given the gap is larger. But even here in 2018, when it was similar, in November, people stopped listing. So you're going to have a better shot at selling faster over the course of the holidays, November, December time, than you will waiting towards, February, March, or April. So if you're looking to list, I'd put on the market now. If you're looking to buy, you're going to take advantage of the fact that there are people that held on to their homes, mispriced homes through the end of the summer, and you'll be able to get some seller concessions off those homes if you're a buyer. If you're a seller, you got to wake up to the new reality and price your home appropriately for what people are paying today, not what they paid in June, what they're paying today. And then if you're a buyer, you can take advantage of all the sellers that haven't woken up, that you can be their wake-up call, okay? Again, this is King County. Every place is different. Neighborhoods are different. Everyone's situation is different. There is no national real estate picture. Stay away from the headlines, right? Do what's best for you and your family, and then give me a call and we can look to see specifically where you're looking to buy or where you're looking to sell, and you can make your decision from there, okay? Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company over at eXp Realty. Make sure you like this, share it, comment, reach out to me. Talk to you soon. What in the world is happening with Pierce County real estate? Let's check it out. All right, here we are looking at the supply and demand graph for the last 4 years, 2018 through 2022, this month. This is through October of 2022. And we can see some interesting stuff here. So the green on the graph is the number of homes that went under contract any given month. And the blue is the number of new listings that came on the market. So in other words, supply, the blue, the number of homes available that came on the market newly every month, supply. Demand, green, the number of homes that went off the market. How big was the demand? So a couple things this tells you. It gives you a historical perspective, and then we can zoom in and look at this month. So you can see the pandemic years of 2020 and 2021 of super low interest rates really increased demand. The pendings went way up compared to the listings. Okay, the number of homes available was way down. People weren't moving, low interest rates, people still buying, bidding wars, la-di-da. Look at how much more blue there was this year in 2022, especially from the summer on. And look how demand sort of tanks. Okay, now demand here in October of 2022, this month, this green demand here is 847, but it's, and it's lower than the demand in any of the other Octobers that we can find. So demand has dropped way off here and supply hasn't really. So a couple things that problems for you as a consumer are the headlines that are coming your way, or every economist in the world is going to have some prediction about the future. The problem with it is none of them know. They're all just saying whatever they can say to grab a headline, and that's it. There's no market mechanism to punish anyone who makes a wrong prediction. And our negativity bias leans us toward thinking the worst is going to happen, or at least clicking on articles that talk about the worst happening. Now, is the worst going to happen? I don't know, maybe, but nobody knows. So you've got to just back off of pretending that there is some certain future out there regarding recession, not recession, housing prices. We don't, no idea, unknown, no idea. So you got to back off from thinking there are some things that could be more predictable. You can use some evidence from the past to see seasonality is fairly reliable. Okay, notice the dips in the green and the blue every year around the end of the year. Yeah, normal seasonality happens every year. Okay, not guaranteed to continue to happen, but certainly not a surprise if it happens. And that's pretty normal here that in January, this is January, that the number of new listings goes away. People don't list during the holidays. But notice how the demand, right? The number of new listings covers up the demand at the end of every year. Notice, the number of covers up the demand. I said it right. Notice how the new listings here, right, in the spring, there's always more listings than there is demand, which is why if you're thinking of selling, this is probably a pretty good time to do it. Why? Because no one else does it now. And the number of pending listings exceeds the number of new listings every year at this time. Notice how you don't see any blue from October on in any of these years, because you can't see any new because the demand has sucked it up. Now, this year's a little bit different, that there is in fact a wide gap of blue in October, which you don't see. Is this October? No, this is September. You don't see this any other year. There's been less demand this year than in years past, October compared to October, and more available inventory. Even though inventory is dropping, and it's predictable, it'll drop behind the demand in November and December and in January. So if you're looking at selling, this is the time to do it. I wouldn't wait till everyone else does it. That's nuts, right? That would be crazy, I think, to predict that would be different would be crazy. Why? Because you got so much reliable history saying this is going to go this way, okay? If it's the right time for you to sell, I wouldn't hold off on selling it. Now, if you're buying, you're going to be able to take advantage of all the sellers that haven't woken up to the new reality called there's less demand and they can't afford to pay what they paid before. And they priced their home wrong when they went to sell. You're going to be able to take advantage of them if you're buying. And I would do that sooner rather than later while there's still this gap. Okay, I would get on the court right now and see if you can't find one of these sellers that thought it was still May of 2022 when they priced their home and has been holding on, but doesn't want to hold their home through the holidays. You can take advantage of that. Now, there's no national real estate market that makes any difference to you. Every neighborhood is different. Tacoma is different than Puyallup is different than Gig Harbor. It's all specific to where you're looking and specific to your situation. So let me know. Give me a call. Ask questions. Let's figure out what is the best path forward, course of action for you. That's what I'm here for. All right. Aaron Hendon with Christine & Company over at eXp Realty. Share this, like it, ask me questions, get back to me. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye. What in the world is happening with Kitsap County real estate? Well, let's look. We're looking at the supply and demand graph for the last 4 years, 2018 through today. The blue is the supply. That's right, the number of homes that came to market any given month. And the green is the demand, the number of homes that went under contract during those months. A couple of things you can see pretty clearly is that Kitsap County generally has a bonus of inventory come the summers, other than the pandemic year. But let's look at what's different right now. Okay, so a couple things about the seasonality of the chart. You can see that at the end of every year, there's more demand than there are listings. That's why you don't see any blue. At the end of every year, that the sellers stop listing, but the buyers don't stop buying. Okay, they slow down, but they slow down at a slower rate than the listings slow down. So they are sucking up extra inventory. Even though there's less buyers, there's proportionally less sellers. That's pretty normal seasonality. You can see the dips here. That's December. That's January. That's going to be December. That's December. Now, you got a little bit of a gap here in October, a little bit more inventory than buyers. Buyers have slowed down quicker, right, this year. It's 7% interest rates, obviously, impacting buyer demand. And sellers not having caught up with the new reality of how to price their homes. So they're still pricing some homes like it was May, which it's not. So you got to price your home appropriately. But the point here is it's not, the gap isn't radically different than 2018. You know, the number of homes available compared to the number of homes sold is not really different than 2018 in Kitsap County. Kitsap's a little bit unique like that in the area, but nonetheless, you're not seeing a collapse of the market. You're seeing a correction. That's what it looks like. Now, problem you got is that end of the year, every economist and their brother is going to make some kind of prediction about what's going to happen with the economy, and none of them are going to be, well, some of them are going to be accurate, but none of them know, and you won't know that they were accurate for 6 months. So you can't base your actions on what you hear on the news or read on the internet. It just doesn't make any sense because they don't know. You can base your actions on what's best for you and then predictable seasonality, which is what you're seeing here. If you're going to list your home, I would list it in December, November or December. Why? Because there's less listings. Look at, you can't see any blue in those months, meaning the demand outstrips the supply in those months. It just does. And then if you were going to be a buyer, I mean, I don't know why you would sell when there was more listings to sell. So waiting to the summer to sell is insanity in my book. I mean, why would you do that? Well, everyone waits to the spring. Yeah, everyone waits to the spring. Why would you do what everyone does? Doesn't make any sense. Now, if you're buying, you can take advantage of the sellers that haven't priced their homes appropriately and still are on the market like it was May. You could be the wake-up call they're waiting for, okay? In terms of managing yourself, you could look to see what's normal seasonality going to bring. This doesn't look like an overall collapse. Demand is trending up in Kitsap County. So let's, there's no national picture that makes any difference, okay? I want to just call out Bainbridge real quick and show you what the difference in Bainbridge is. Okay, this is Bainbridge. And in Bainbridge, you can see that overall demand, demand is lower, but look at the slope on the listings. Now you had a little pop up in the summer, but listings have almost gone away. That blue that you could see in Kitsap, and if you watch the Pierce and the King County updates as well, you can see this is radically different. There's way less supply on Bainbridge than there is other places. And the demand is down for sure. That's a slope down in demand, but is it radically different than 2018, 2019? It's lower, but it's not crazy. There was just this huge spike in demand during the pandemic. So, you're going to have a tougher time buying on Bainbridge than you are the other areas. Although you can see that normal seasonality, you're still above the lows of what would be normal seasonality, meaning you got some room to come down, right? There'll probably be less listings towards the end of the year, right? Probably. And demand will taper off. So the same principles apply. That is, if you're listing, you got a better shot at the end of the year than you do in whatever this is, August, May, right? Not likely. And if you're buying, you should be able to take advantage of some of these sellers should still have their homes on the market where they weren't priced appropriately. And you can take advantage of that. But overall on Bainbridge, the picture for buyers doesn't look great. There's not a ton of inventory to choose from. And for sellers, you still pretty much have a decent shot at getting a premium price. There's less inventory than there has been and less supply. And, it's lower demand, but it's not ridiculously lower demand than normal. You should be able to take advantage of that. So sellers still have the upper hand on Bainbridge, unlike the other areas that we've looked at. If you got questions about your situation, though, you should let me know. That's what I'm here for, okay? Let me know anything you need to know about your specific situation. Aaron Hendon over at Christine & Company with eXp Realty. Make sure you like it, share it, comment, do all that great social media stuff, and let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you soon. What in the world is happening with Vashon Real Estate? Let's check it out. All right, if you watch the other videos for King County, Pierce County, you can see this is really unique. Excuse me, going through puberty. All right, let's look. This is supply and demand. The blue is the supply, number of homes on the market, and the green is the demand, number of homes that came off the market. This is the only graph I've seen in the surrounding area where the demand has outstripped the supply in the last month. There's nothing else in the area where there are more buyers than listings than Vashon. And that was the case at the end of each year here. It's always a case at the end of the year for everybody, but not this way in this October. This way, this October, this is unique. All right. So what's the deal with Vashon? Well, you notice that we have not gotten back to pre-pandemic levels of inventory. We never had a month where 35 homes came to the market, right? In 3 years, we haven't had 35 homes on the market on any given month. And, the peak was July where there were 24 that came to market. Great. But last month, nothing came to market. 6. No, that's pending. There were 6 6 came to market, 13 went off the market. All right, you do that math. That's a pretty high supply and demand graph. So this is what I keep saying. First of all, there is no national housing picture. There's not even a Puget Sound housing picture that matters. Vashon, like all neighborhoods, is unique. It's a separate animal than anything else. Everything is separate. Nobody wants to live in King County, or I want to live in Seattle. They want to live in a specific neighborhood. They're going to buy a house in a specific neighborhood on a specific block, and that's going to have specific economic situation going on with it. Everything is specific. Just don't believe the hype. All right. Now, the other piece of this that's interesting is there's no indication that supply is going to go up again. And demand, while demand is lower, it's not radically lower than it was anytime during the pandemic. And it's not radically lower than it was anytime before the pandemic. So whatever's happening with interest rates isn't generally impacting the Vashon specific market the way it is King County or Pierce County or even Kitsap County. It's not really making a huge dent. What would make a huge dent in housing prices is an explosion of inventory. Now, an explosion of inventory is so unlikely to happen on Vashon. You would need to call me and explain to me the magic that makes more inventory show up on Vashon. I mean, a whole bunch of people need to die. I hate to say it that way, but that is where inventory is going to come from. You're not building anything on Vashon, or people need to flee. Okay. And, there's still enough people that want to come here to keep housing prices where they are. There's no predictable mechanism I see from this that says housing prices come down on Vashon anytime soon. Now, does that mean they won't? No, of course not. I didn't think Geno Smith was a good quarterback, but look at this. So I don't know everything. I barely know anything. I can just read this graph and I can see that normal seasonality is not, this bump in October is nuts to me, that twice as many homes sold as came to market in October. So I don't see the mechanism by which the housing prices come down unless there's some national crisis with a recession stops the economy in Seattle somehow, like Google and Amazon and everyone lay off half their employees, in which case housing prices may fall, but I don't know what you do for a living to be able to take advantage of that. So if you're going to buy, right, being on Vashon is going to be a tough road to hoe. It doesn't look like it's going to be any more affordable anytime soon. It doesn't look like it gets cheaper later, in other words. And long term, always, I'm a big proponent of building equity through real estate. So, even if it does go down, it will wind up in the long run being a good investment. So if you got questions about your situation, let me know. Sellers should have the upper hand on Vashon for the foreseeable future, certainly through the winter, when what's predictable is less and less houses will come to market. That's a really traditional drop, that no houses come to market, and demand always exceeds supply in the winter months, right? The only time it ever becomes a problem on Vashon for supply to exceed demand is in the summer. And even then on Vashon, it doesn't look like there's a bad time to sell. Better time though is in the winter when there's less supply and demand is relatively strong. Okay, so if you got questions about your situation, you got questions about things you want to know about your buying, your selling, anything like that, get to me. That's what I'm here for. I'm Aaron Hendon with Christine & Company over at eXp Realty. Like this, subscribe, share, do all that good social media jazz. And I'll talk to you soon.